Welcome back to Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing the Start 11 show for our trip to Arsenal on Saturday afternoon. So let's get straight into it. Obviously, it's going to be a very tough game at the Emirates. We know in recent years we've not been on the right end of the results there, so we know it's going to be a difficult game with them at the top of the league and where we are in the league. But nevertheless, I'll get straight into the starting 11 and starting in goal. It's going to be Jordan Pickford that Dyche chooses to opt for. Need I say any more? He's a top player, Jordan Pickford. He's going to be crucial for us potentially keeping a clean sheet on Saturday. So we're going to need him to be at the top of his game. But that's all you can really say about Jordan Pickford. So moving into defence and starting at left back, I'll start with Vitaly Mykolenko. He did look a little bit leggy, in the games prior to the 10 days off, obviously with the Merseyside derby being postponed. He was starting to look a bit leggy in the team. So maybe this break has done him a little bit of good. But that being said, I did think he played marginally better against Wolves in that game in midweek the week before last. So, fingers crossed he can put a little bit of a run together now. Obviously, it's not been a great start to the season for Vitaly Mykolenko. He's not been playing his best football. So, fingers crossed he can maybe put that behind him and start to put a little bit of a run together in the team. But I do think he will keep his place in that left back slot. And then moving into the centre half partnership, obviously, this was maybe a little bit more contentious towards the start of the season with Michael Keane maybe having a shout, but I do think Branthwaite and Tarkowski will just keep their partnership going now between now and the end of the season. Both look like they're getting back to their best that we saw towards the back end of last year rather than the start of this season and getting back to their usual partnership. And I think they bring the best out of each other, particularly Branthwaite bringing the best out of Tarkowski. I think them two work really well together. So fingers crossed they have a decent game. You're looking at set pieces, for example. Arsenal have been so superior to a lot of teams this season in set pieces. They've scored a lot of goals from set pieces. You look at that one of their last games against Manchester United, for example, the difference between Man U and Arsenal on that day was the set pieces. So we're going to massively be needing Jared Branthwaite and James Tarkowski, their aerial ability to combat that. And fingers crossed they can have a good performance and stop that. But moving to right back, I'm going to go with Ashley Young. He's quietly been one of our best players this season. There's no denying that now. His fantastic free kick against Wolves last time out shows that he's still got it at 39 years old. So fingers crossed he can maybe keep pace with the likes of Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, because it is going to be a tough game. And maybe he can use his nous and his experience to combat those players rather than his raw pace, because we know it's lacking these days. But yeah, as I said before, Young is quietly going about his business as one of our best players this season. So every credit to him, and that completes the back four. So moving into the midfield, I'll start with Orel Mangala. I think he will be keeping his place. I think he's a top player in my opinion. I've been really enjoyed watching him in a blue shirt so far, obviously on loan from Lyon this season. Can we make that permanent in January or in the summer? I'm not so sure. Obviously, we'll have to look at Lyon's financial predicament and see what we can do there. But Mangala, I do think he is going from strength to strength. He's really nailing down his place now in that Everton team. Obviously, had a short spell out of the team with Abdoulaye Doucouré dropping a little bit further back. But I think from now on, Dyche has to use Mangala, and I think he will continue that partnership with Idrissa Gana Gueye, who I'm going to go on to next. And as I said before, they are forming a good partnership now, Idrissa Gana Gueye and Orel Mangala. So I do expect them to start as the sort of double pivot in midfield on Saturday against Arsenal. And then moving a little bit further forwards, the attacking midfield role, I do think Sean Dyche will opt for Abdoulaye Doucouré. I think he'll want him there for a little bit more structure, setting the press. Obviously, Arsenal are a team that they can play a low block, but they can also be so expansive and play rapid attacking football. So I think Dyche will probably want Abdoulaye Doucouré there if they are sitting back a little bit and maybe letting Everton sit back and go for two banks of four. I do think that Dyche will want Abdoulaye Doucouré in there to play behind the striker, to set the press and maybe set Everton onto Arsenal a little bit. So, a lot of people will probably call for Dwight McNeil or for Iliman and Jai playing in the number 10 role. I do think that experiment might be over for Sean Dyche now. I think he'll probably revert to tight with Abdoulaye Doucouré in there, but moves us on quite nicely into that front three. And off the right hand side, I do think Jesper Lindstrom's going to play. He offers a little bit more pace. He's a little bit more direct in his running than say Jack Harrison or Dwight McNeil, for example. And I think it's going to be a game where if we are going to get a chance, it is going to be on the counter attack, and it's going to be maybe a lucky break which falls to the wingers, and they have to do what they can from it. So I do think Jesper Lindstrom does offer a little bit more than say Jack Harrison or Dwight McNeil. So I do think Dyche will use Jesper Lindstrom on Saturday, and especially with the run we've got coming up, we are going to need to use our squad quite well. We're going to have to, there's a lot of games coming up over this Christmas period, so we are going to have to utilise the squad and rotate a little bit, and that's why I think Jesper Lindstrom will also come into the right hand side. But moving on to the left hand side, I do think it's going to be Iliman and Jai once again. this game will all be all about moments. I think there's going to be moments where we have the ball at our feet and we have to capitalize on what we've got at our feet. And I think Iliman and Jai is going to be the key to do that. I think his individual brilliance and his sort of wizardry on the ball. Fingers crossed, we can sort of create something, and with him having the ball at his feet, we know what kind of player he is. So fingers crossed he can use that wizardry and try and create us some chances. But then moving into the number nine position, I do think it's going to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think he's going to keep his place. Obviously, people will know my opinions about Beto, and then also Yusuf Chamiti. Just today, Sean Dyche has said he's making really good progress in his recovery. So I don't think Yusuf Chamiti will be too far off being in at least the match day squad and maybe challenging Beto or Dominic Calvert-Lewin for that number nine spot. But I do think Calvert-Lewin will keep his place. He was unlucky against Wolves to not be on the score sheet twice. Obviously, two Craig Dawson own goals, both ricocheting in off Craig Dawson rather than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So I think it's probably a little bit harsh to maybe say that Calvert-Lewin was scoreless in that game because he created the two chances. The goals wouldn't have gone in without him. So I do think it's a little bit harsh, but expect to see Armando Broja probably later on in the game. I was really impressed with Armando Broja's his cameo against Wolves. I think he was really direct. He's really positive in his running. Obviously, I know it's only Wolves and they've not been having the best of times recently, but it is something definitely to get excited about Armando Broja. But that being said, I do think Dominic Calvert-Lewin will keep his place, and maybe with Beto and Broja both on the bench, can we see them maybe later on in the game just to try and change the game if it's not going our way? Remains to be seen. But that is all for the starting 11. I'll just run through it one more time. So it's Jordan Pickford in goal, Vitaly Mikalenko, Jared Branthwaite, James Tarkowski, and Ashley Young as your back four. Orhan Mangala, Idrissa Gana Gueye, and Abdoulaye Doucouré is the number 10. Jesper Lindstrom off the right hand side, Iliman Ndiaye off the left hand side, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin as your stall striker. Let me know your thoughts on this starting 11. Do you think Dyche is going to go for something else? Obviously, people will understand that I have omitted Dwight McNeil from this one. I do think he might need a little bit of a break. So let me know your thoughts on that one. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.